I'm pretty sure this game's better. When the year's coming to a close, and I think back to all the games that I'd played during that year, the good, the bad, in the end, what ultimately decides whether or not it was a good year for gaming, for me personally, is whether or not I got immersed in a great single-player RPG. And don't get me wrong, I love multiplayer games, but the reason I play video games is because I love good stories wherever I can get them, and a single-player narrative can more effectively give me that fix. And with this video, I want to discuss one of my all-time favorite RPGs, the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, and why it needs to be on the Nintendo Switch. And throughout the video, I'm going to be making quite a few comparisons between Oblivion and Skyrim, not because I want to make a video that bashes Skyrim because I think Oblivion is better, but because I know a lot of Elder Scrolls fans never went back and played the older Elder Scrolls games, because they hopped on Skyrim because it was the newest one, and they never looked back, and I understand how that kind of thing can happen. So throughout the video, you're going to be seeing quite a few comparisons between the two games, and a lot of things that Skyrim does that I personally think Oblivion does better. And ultimately, the main reason I wanted to make this video is because Skyrim is already on the Nintendo Switch, so Bethesda is making games for the system, but because if enough attention goes to Oblivion, then hopefully we can make it relevant enough to be on the Nintendo Switch, because I think this game deserves it. As far as the story, I am not going to spoil anything here, because if anybody watches this video and decides that they want to play Oblivion for themselves, I want you guys to go in completely blind, exactly the way that I did, but I can promise you, once you start playing, you're going to be absolutely immersed in the story, and you're going to see it through all the way to the end. But without spoiling anything, what I can tell you is that basically these Oblivion portals to hell are popping up all over Cyrodiil, and basically these armies of demons known as Daedra are spilling out and invading our world, and it's up to your character and a pretty badass group of side characters to stop them, and it is literally the definition of epic. And as far as where this game takes place, it actually is set in Cyrodiil, which, if you know your Elder Scrolls lore, is directly south of Skyrim, and is the imperial seat of power for all of Tamriel, and plopped right in the center of Cyrodiil is the imperial crown jewel, the imperial city, which is where the Emperor lives, which obviously makes this a very imperial-centric region. And little side note is why I always play as an imperial in any other Elder Scrolls game, because I love this game's setting, I love this game's region. Also, another side note, Oblivion actually takes place 200 years before Skyrim, and gives it a really unique feel, because this game actually feels medieval. You'll actually run into armor-clad knights wandering around, and as you can expect with any Elder Scrolls game, there's plenty of villages and towns that just really cement this theme in, and honestly has one of the most unique themes of all Elder Scrolls games. A couple of really good examples of things that I think Oblivion does better than Skyrim as far as gameplay mechanics and immersion is actually how you join a lot of the game's guilds. Take Skyrim, for example. When you're joining the Dark Brotherhood and you wake up in that cabin, that scene plays out identically every single time you play it. It doesn't matter if it's the first time or the 100th time you've done it, it'll play out exactly the same. Whereas Oblivion handles the exact same situation a lot more organically. And it's really strange because, you know, Oblivion is an older game, and it actually makes the game feel more immersive. After you've committed your first cold-blooded murder, the next time you sleep, you will be woken up by the speaker of the Dark Brotherhood, no matter where you are. And that's really cool, because it doesn't matter if you're sleeping in a tent on top of a snowy mountain, or as you can see right now, I'm checking into an inn. I've just committed my first murder, and I'm checking into a room. That speaker will sneak into that room in the middle of the night and wake me up standing above my bed. And it's really creepy and immersive at the same time. And it's little details like that that make this world feel alive, and that you're living and existing in this world instead of being the Dragonborn where the world seems to revolve around you.
You sleep rather soundly for a murderer. That's good.
And the same applies with other guilds in the game. In Skyrim, when you're wanting to join the Thieves Guild, it's as easy as walking into Riften and being asked, hey, would you like to join the Thieves Guild? Do this quest. Whereas in Oblivion, the Thieves Guild is actually a myth. And when I first played, I wasn't sure if the Thieves Guild existed. And when I discovered that they did exist, and you stumble upon them in a meeting in the middle of the night and they have you compete for a slot, it just feels really organic and real. And of course, if there was actually a Thieves Guild, they wouldn't just be like, hey, you want to join? You know, they meet in secret, and that's exactly what Oblivion does, and it just feels more real this way. Even joining the Mages Guild in Oblivion is infinitely more interesting. This is a picture of the Arcane University in the Imperial City, which is basically like the Elder Scrolls version of Hogwarts, and you're not even allowed to enter until you have a recommendation from every single Mages Guild in every single city in the game, which is infinitely cooler than in Skyrim, where if you want to join the Mages Guild and go into that college, you literally just have to show up and show them that you know how to cast a spell and you're in, and it just seems lazy in comparison.
And grant you the robe of the apprentice.
Skyrim is a great game, but I do believe that Oblivion is a superior RPG. And what I mean by that is this. As you can see, we're looking at the skill tree from Skyrim. And if you've ever played Skyrim, you know that when you first start, you can decide, hey, I want to be a thief. And the next time I log on, I want to be a swordsman or a two-handed swordsman. Or I want to be an archer the next day, or turn it all around and be a mage the next. The game does not force you to roleplay. You can be whatever you want all the time. And by the time you finish the game and you're a master of everything, you're a jack of all trades, and my character and your character will be the exact same because we were able to become everything in the game. Whereas in Oblivion, when you start your game and you're creating your character, you have to commit to a role because you have to choose 7 major skills which define your character. Your character will not level up unless you level up those 7 major skills, which means whenever I go over to my friend's house and we're both playing Oblivion like back in the day, and I had my character and he had his character, we could compare, and it was really cool because he was a wizard and I was more of a ranger that used alchemy and blades, and he used magic, and it was really cool, and because we could be different and express ourselves through our classes, whereas Skyrim just wants it to be easy for newcomers, and I don't think that necessarily makes it a good RPG and a role-playing game, because Oblivion actually requires you to play your role that you create when you make your character. And to top it all off, Oblivion has some of the best expansions I've ever played in an RPG, excluding the Horse Armor Pack, which should have been in the game by default. The Shivering Isles expansion alone could have been its own game with a whole new land to explore, new interesting characters to meet, new monsters to kill, new weapons and armor to loot, and a crazy story that you just have to experience for yourself, and is a perfect example of what DLC can be for a game and how it can extend its life. And I hope that if Oblivion gets picked up by the Nintendo Switch, that all the DLC is included just like they did with Skyrim. Yeah, those are the reasons why I think Oblivion needs to be on the Nintendo Switch. I absolutely love this game. I've loved it for years, and I still go back from time to time to play it because it's really that good. And I just think it's a complete shame that there's so many fans of Skyrim that have not gone back to play this classic, because I promise you it deserves your time. And at the end of the day, I just hope that Oblivion gets enough attention and requests that Nintendo will put it on the Switch, because that'll bring it back to the forefront and allow new gamers that have never played it before to discover it and have as much fun with Oblivion as I have, because it's an incredible game and everyone should be able to enjoy it. But yeah, that's all I have for today. If you like the video, be sure to like it. I do make new videos every week, so be sure to subscribe. And if you love Oblivion, or if you want to see another Elder Scrolls on the Switch, be sure to share this video with your friends, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.